Under the sleepless glow of a flickering neon motel sign, a man sat on the cold pavement, staring at the road that had stolen more from him than it ever gave. Tonight was his last night in this city, his last night under the neon light. The sky rested heavy upon him, thick with winter, grief, and everything left unsaid. Cars whispered by, each one carrying strangers with somewhere to go, while he had nowhere left at all. This is the story of Elias Morgan, a man who learned too late that sometimes the brightest places cast the darkest shadows. The Blue Lantern Motel sat at the edge of Interstate 44, where lost people drifted when the world no longer had room for them. Elias sat with his back against the vending machine, listening to its soft electric hum. That a half-empty duffel bag lay beside him, filled with everything he owned: 2 shirts, a photo album, and a pair of boots that had walked him through a lifetime of disappointment. The neon light above buzzed, painting the world a bruised shade of pink and blue. Elias once believed the American dream was a ladder anyone could climb, but dreams are heavy things, and some hands grow too tired to hold them. A cold breeze passes. Elias pulls his jacket tighter. His hands tremble, from the cold, from exhaustion, or from memories he couldn't silence anymore. A younger Elias stepped off a bus in St. Louis, smiling like a man whose future was a straight road. He carried 2 suitcases and a heart full of promises he had whispered to his mother back home. His dreams were simple: a stable job, a small apartment, a family, and a life that made waking up worth it. He had no idea how quickly cities ate men like him. His first job was at a warehouse: long hours, low pay, and the kind of loneliness that grows roots. But he worked hard, saved money, believed the world would eventually notice. Her name was Mara. She walked into his life like a song he had already heard but never learned the words to. They met in a diner off Route 66. She spilled coffee on his shirt and apologized more times than needed. Her laugh was warm, her presence disarmed him. They became inseparable, shared cheap dinners, long midnight drives, and dreams bigger than both of them. Elias promised her a home one day, a real one, with a porch and a backyard. Mara promised him she'd stay no matter how long it took. But poverty is a quiet thief. It steals slowly, then all at once. The neon light flickers again. Elias watches it like it's counting down the seconds left in his life. A bus approaches in the distance, headlights slicing through the dark. This is the bus he's supposed to board, the last bus leaving the city tonight. That he knows that if he walks away from this place, he'll never return. That he also knows that staying means nothing will ever change. His phone vibrates. A message from unknown number. He doesn't open it. Not yet. That he's too afraid of what it might say. Mara stood in their tiny apartment, tears tracing the outline of her exhaustion. "I'm not leaving because I don't love you," she whispered. "I'm leaving because love isn't enough anymore." Elias had no answer. His silence broke her more than any words could. Bills piled high, dreams collapsed, arguments filled the spaces they once filled with laughter. And then, she was gone. The apartment felt bigger after that, emptier than any place he had ever lived. He stopped opening the blinds, stopped cooking, stopped caring. The American dream had evaporated. Only the neon lights outside his window stayed constant, blinking like a heartbeat he no longer trusted. Elias finally opens the text. It's from Mara. "Are you still in the city? I need to talk to you. Please." His chest tightens. He stares at the screen until the letters blur into streaks of light. Should he reply? Should he leave? Should he stay? The motel sign cracks loudly, sparks flying. As if urging him to decide. Elias stands, shoulders heavy, eyes hollow. He grabs his duffel bag and walks toward the bus stop. Snow begins to fall in thin, tired FL. Like the sky was shedding pieces of itself. He takes slow steps, each one echoing a lifetime of regret. He sees the bus door open, and for a moment, he imagines a different life, a life where he and Mara made it, a life where he didn't disappoint himself, a life where the dream didn't break him. But reality is cold, and he is colder. Just as he reaches the bus, he hears footsteps behind him. Elias. He freezes, that voice that it can't be that he turns. Mara stands under the neon light, shivering, drenched from the falling snow, her hair messy, her face pale, her eyes carrying the same exhaustion he had seen in his own reflection. I didn't know if you'd still be here, she says, her voice cracks. I didn't know if you'd still want to see me. He drops his bag, she steps closer. I'm sick, Elias. Her voice trembles. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left so you wouldn't have to watch me fade. His breath shatters in his chest. Mara continues, wiping frozen tears. The doctors, they don't know how long I have. I didn't want to drag you through it. Elias feels the world tilt, the neon light hums loudly above them, the bus driver shouts from behind, Sir. This is the last call. Are you boarding or not? Elias doesn't look away from Mara. That he sees fear, loneliness, love buried under years of silence. That he steps toward her. The bus driver shrugs, closes the doors, and drives off into the snowy highway. Mara breaks down. You should have left. You deserved a better life. Elias gently touches her face. His voice is soft. I didn't stay for the dream, he whispers. I stayed for you. The neon sign flickers, casting their shadows onto the frozen ground like two broken shapes learning how to mend. They return to the motel room together. Two ghosts of who they once were, holding on to what little time remains. Mara curls beside him on the bed, her breathing slow, her fingers tangled with his. Elias turns off the lamp. Only the neon light outside remains, bleeding through the blinds. That it paints the room in soft, dying colors, blue for sorrow, pink for love, and white for the quiet end of things. And so they laid there, two people who once dreamed louder than the world, learning to find peace in silence. Morning arrives. The neon light finally goes out. For the first time in years, it stops flickering. Inside the room, Elias holds Mara close. Her eyes are closed, her breathing faint. Today might be her last day, but last night, their last night under the neon light, was the first time either of them felt alive. In a long time, morning seeped in through the thin curtains like a shy stranger, hesitant to disturb what the night had left behind. Elias awakened slowly, not to the sound of an alarm, but to a soft trembling in the mattress. Mara wasn't sleeping, she was awake, staring at the ceiling, eyes unmoving, like someone bracing herself for a truth she wasn't ready to face. Did you sleep? Elias murmured. She shook her head slightly. I was afraid to. He reached for her hand. That it felt lighter than he remembered, almost fragile, like her bones were turning into memory. The neon sign outside the window was finally silent, for the first time in years. No buzzing, no flickering, just quiet. That it felt symbolic, dangerously symbolic. Mara reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a folded paper, wrinkled from being opened and closed too many times. You don't have to, Elias began. Need to, she whispered. She handed it to him. The words were short. Clinical, merciless, a degenerative illness, rapid progression, treatment unlikely to reverse damage, estimated time unspecified, but short. Elias read it slowly, even though the meaning hit him instantly. His fingers tightened around the paper until it shook. Mara, his voice cracked like glass breaking. She didn't cry, her eyes looked tired, the kind of tired that had nothing to do with sleep. I didn't come because I wanted you to pity me, she said softly. I came because I didn't want to leave this world without fixing what I broke. He swallowed hard, throat burning. You didn't break anything. Life did. They walked to the old Route 66 diner, the same one where they first met. The doorbell chimed weakly as they entered, like even it remembered them. The diner was nearly empty, except for an old couple sharing pancakes and a waitress wiping down menus. Mara slid into the same booth where she once spilled coffee on him a decade ago. Elias joined her, sitting across from her with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. What would you like? The waitress asked. Mara laughed gently. Do you still sell the world's worst coffee? The waitress grinned, still just as terrible. They ordered 2 cups. The silence between them was warm, but heavy. Mara traced circles on the table with her fingertip. I used to think this place was ugly, she said, but now it feels safe. Elias nodded. I think ugly places feel safe once they hold memories. She looked at him, really looked at him. Why didn't you move on? She asked in a trembling voice. You could have found someone else. Started over. He considered lying, making her feel lighter, offering a comforting answer, but he didn't. There was no someone else, Mara. Not after you. Her eyes softened. She didn't speak for a long moment. Finally she whispered, I don't deserve that. But Elias replied instantly, you deserved more. They stepped out of the diner and walked along the streets, the same streets they once believed would lead to a better tomorrow. The city looked different in daylight, more worn out, more honest. Boarded up shops, graffiti, tired faces, people chasing buses like they were chasing salvation. America was a beautiful dream, but also a hard country. Some made it, others didn't. Elias and Mara walked side by side, hands brushing. Not quite holding but not quite letting go either. At a crosswalk, Mara stopped. Do you remember the bridge? She asked. How could I forget? He replied. The bridge was where they had their first kiss, under rain, under streetlights, under the belief that everything would work out. They walked there now, slowly, like retracing the footsteps of two ghosts. The river below was dull and gray, moving sluggishly like it carried the weight of 1,000 forgotten dreams. Mara leaned on the railing, watching the water. You once told me this city had magic, she said softly. It did, Elias replied. We were younger then. Her breath clouded in the cold air. I wish I could go back, she whispered, to when things were simple. When we believed the world owed us a chance. Elias stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. The world never owed us anything, Mara. But we owed ourselves forgiveness. She looked at him with teary eyes. Do you forgive me? He nodded. I forgave you the moment you left, because leaving takes just as much pain as staying. A tear slid down her cheek. She touched his face gently. And do you forgive yourself, Elias? He hesitated. No, he whispered, not yet. She leaned her forehead against his chest. They stood there for a long time, long enough for the cold to settle into their bones. They returned to the motel as the sun dipped low. The sky glowed orange and purple, the kind of beauty that hurt to look at. Inside the room, Mara sat on the bed, exhaustion pulling at her shoulders. Elias noticed the slight tremor in her hands. You're tired, he said gently. She nodded. Will you stay with me? Just for tonight? He sat beside her. I'm not going anywhere. She rested her head on his shoulder. They talked for hours, about childhood memories, old dreams, regrets, the things they never said and the things they wished they had. No drama. No shouting, just two souls finding each other again in the quietest way possible. Eventually, Mara drifted into sleep, her breathing slow, shallow. Elias stayed awake, watching her like he was afraid she'd vanish the moment he closed his eyes. The neon sign was dead outside. The world was silent. It truly felt like their last night. Around midnight, Elias reached into his duffel bag and pulled out a small box wrapped in fading newspaper. Inside were memories, Polaroids of their road trips. A dried flower she once tucked behind his ear. Her old bracelet. A movie ticket from their first date. And a folded note she wrote years ago but never gave him. He hadn't opened the note all this time. With trembling hands, he unfolded it. Read, Elias. If the world ever separates us, I want you to know something. You were the one thing that ever felt like home. His vision blurred. That he placed the note over his heart. Beside him, Mara slept, unaware he was breaking silently.